Tim MacMahon, ESPN NBA reporter, Band MacMahon podcast on the Hoop Collective, and also the author of the new book, The Wonder Boy, Luka Doncic and the Curse of Greatness, as Tim joins us from OKC. Before we get to that series, a few other topics, whose career would you rather have, James Harden or Russell Westbrook?
Howdy, Dan. Can I look at the career earnings? They're both way up there. I feel like Harden probably, when you rank them in terms of the echelons of NBA greatness, I mean, they're both first ballot Hall of Famers and all that. I feel like Harden lands higher on that list, but has more scrutiny. And, for the reasons you guys said, his playoff failures have been spectacular, where it feels like most of Russ's playoff failures, you kind of left saying, well, they just didn't have the better team. And he didn't get the same sort of burden on his shoulders. It's crazy how they've both become journeyman type of guys late in their career. Now, Harden's still doing it at a high price point, and Harden's still the one deciding when he wants to leave, where he wants to go. Whereas that's not the case with Russ. Russ has been traded twice to the Utah Jazz over the last few years and not played a second for that franchise. That's kind of, and seriously, like with Russ, you keep on feeling, is this his last chance? Is this his last chance? And then, then he'll get another one. Harden's had a much better year this year, but Russ is still playing, and Russ had a much better game 7. And right now, that's all that really matters.
Whose future, immediate future, do you like better, the Clippers or the Lakers?
Oh, I mean, the Lakers, just because they have a generational talent to build around, and they've got to build. They've got to figure that out. Obviously, depth was a major problem for the Lakers. I mean, they played 5 guys for an entire half of a playoff game. Something that we've never seen before. But one, the Lakers traditionally have not had a whole lot of problems convincing guys, hey, do you like the sunshine? Do you like the glitz and glamour? Do you like the spotlight? You might want to come here. And Luka's not somebody who everybody maybe will want to play with, but they've got the other guys who are going to have the ball in their hands. They need to fill out with the role players like the Mavericks did, the year before they went to the finals. And, the primary thing they need is that lob catching, rim protecting big man. And those type of guys will absolutely be lining up to try to play with Luka in L.A.
I did wonder when J.J. Redick said we got to get in championship shape, and I did think of you because you wrote the book on Luka. How do you think this was received by him, where it's not being called out by name, but everybody knows he's saying you need to get in championship shape?
Probably about the same as when Jason Kidd would do it at the end of seasons, and even Rick Carlisle at the end of seasons. I mean, this has been something that has been an issue for Luka throughout his entire career, even going back to the pre-draft process. It was one of the knocks.
But does this back up what the Mavericks did, Nico Harrison? His knock on him partly was, he wasn't in shape and he knew he couldn't play defense.
Well, what I have consistently said is the condition concerns are absolutely legitimate and still an insane reason to trade a generational talent months removed from him leading your franchise to the NBA Finals when he fully intended to stay in Dallas for his entire career. So the Lakers' first-round exit does not justify the trade that was made. Are the condition concerns legitimate? Of course they are. And you didn't need this to know that. Did people has there been some kind of optometrist revolution suddenly? Did you not have eyeballs? Were they not working? Of course, conditioning's been a concern with him throughout his career. He's still been a 5-time first team All NBA player. The defense, and here's the thing those two things are directly related, right? Luka's obviously at his worst defensively when he's gassed. And when you play him the entire second half, that doesn't help matters. But you can build a good defense that protects Luka, that includes Luka. And I'm not saying hypothetically. I'm saying it's happened on multiple occasions. The Mavericks did it the year they went to the conference finals. They were ranked 7th in the league in defense. They did it last year when they went to the finals. they were the number one defense for the final quarter of the season, and then that continued into the playoffs. Even the Celtics series, Luka had some terrible defensive moments. They lost that series because they couldn't score because the guys around him couldn't hit shots. And his defensive issues didn't help. But I'm saying, so yeah, the flaws are the flaws, but no, it doesn't justify the trade. And I absolutely, like the Lakers are ecstatic to be able to have the opportunity to try to build around this dude for the next decade.
But
they've got a lot of work to do in that regard.
Can you see a scenario where Luka doesn't stay in LA?
I mean, sure, I could come up with scenarios. I would be shocked if there's not some sort of extension this summer.
Okay.
And what that looks like, there's a lot of factors. I don't want to bog you down with CPA minutia and all that kind of stuff, but with what I know of Luka, and I haven't talked to him directly about this, but talking to people who know Luka well, I think he absolutely wants to give the Lakers, like he's fully committed to LA now. His heart was broken, but he's fully committed to the Lakers. And, his goal now is to win championships with that franchise.
Tim MacMahon, ESPN NBA reporter, Band MacMahon podcast on the Hoop Collective, and, of course, the new book, The Wonder Boy, Luka Doncic, and the Curse of Greatness. Who has a better chance of going further, the Warriors or the Nuggets?
Well, I would say the Warriors because they don't have to play Oklahoma City this round. Listen, man, OKC, the one doubt about OKC is, well, they haven't done it before.
Yeah.
That's really the one flaw. This is a team that set the NBA record for point differential in a season. I mean, they've been absolutely dominant. So now, if the Nuggets were playing the Wolves, well, actually, I'm sorry, if the Nuggets were playing the Warriors, I probably would pick the Nuggets in that series, but that's not the way the brackets broke.
Yeah.
So I think the Warriors have a better chance to beat the Wolves than the Nuggets do of beating the Thunder. I'm not sure the Warriors have a great chance of beating the Wolves.
I'm wondering if, and I'm just looking at the playoff rosters, so it's recency bias, that, it used to be you were trying to get three big names, three stars. Mm-hmm. Now it feels like two is great, but you really need to have depth. Cleveland, Indiana, OKC, Boston. Like they have, two really good players or one great player, and then you have depth there. Is that kind of the model now moving forward that OKC is put in front of us?
Well, and I just think that to have a big three, especially if they're three max guys, it's going to be tough to build your roster out from there with all the handcuffs that are in the new CBA. And, the Suns are kind of an extreme example of, well, they had their big three and just there wasn't a whole lot around that. Plus, those three guys didn't necessarily fit very well together. And really, it was a big two and then a huge third salary. But yeah, depth matters and role players matter. There's only one basketball, right? So you're not going to have three guys scoring 30 a game. But you do, it's still a superstars league, just to be clear. Like the Houston Rockets are deep, they're athletic, they're tough, they're relentless. They don't have a superstar. If they get a superstar, which, will be an interesting summer, the Houston Rockets have a chance to be right in the thick of things as soon as next season. But if you don't have, and like the Thunder have one superstar, two all-star caliber guys, I would say. And by the way, we could argue if that Shea, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren thing will be a big three soon. But then they play 10 guys by the first second of the second quarter every game. And it's like a tough decision. Well, which good player is not going to get in there? We got like 12 or 13 guys who are rotation caliber dudes. That matters.
Can the Knicks beat the Celtics?
I mean, I guess. It's hard for me to kind of figure out the pathway. The Celtics have a clean injury report now, which is huge. Obviously, with Drew Holiday missing time last series and Jaylen Brown's been banged up, Porzingis. The Knicks need Jalen Brunson to be an absolute superhero, and he's dealing with Drew Holiday and Derek White and a little bit of Jaylen Brown, and then Porzingis and Horford in the paint. I don't know. Maybe Karl Anthony Towns has a series of his life, but this would be a massive upset.
Karl Anthony Towns, you mean the greatest shooting big man of all time?
Spigs Bemo, self-proclaimed greatest shooting big man of all time.
Who is the greatest shooting big man of all time?
I mean, I'm based in Dallas. There's a German 7-foot fella by the name of Dirk Nowitzki who probably would stake claim to that title. I mean, I guess you could tell me, well, he was a power forward, not a big man, but that's the guy who revolutionized the league as a 7-footer who was bombing away, and that's the dude who's 6 all time on the scoring list. I'm going to give him the nod.
Best shooting center of all time.
Yeah, Cat has a claim there. He has a real claim there. Now, the knock there would be, yeah, but he's had his most playoff success when they had to pair him with another big man because he's not a defensive anchor. Then again, nobody ever accused Dirk of being a defensive anchor either.
No, he was an anchor. He was being weighed down. He had an anchor on his back there. But, we were talking about this. When you talk about players who had a signature move that changed the game or a style, like Dirk changed the game for all big men. Steph with his ability to shoot threes. Harden to a certain degree with his...
No. To 100% degree.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that step back. Okay. That step back changed the game for sure. And what Luka has done with that started with Harden. 100%. Like Harden was launching more step back threes than like the rest of the league combined early on during that Houston run. And the step back three became a common weapon because of Harden. Just like that one-legged fadeaway became a common weapon because of Dirk. So Harden absolutely gets credit for the step-back revolution.
Now, does Sharunas Marciulionis or who gets credit for the Euro step?
I would say it is most commonly associated with Ginobili. And Ginobili is the guy who took it to the next level, which is always fun to me. I know he played in Europe, but he's not European. So, but no, Ginobili is the one who that became a move that's in everybody's bag because Ginobili had so much success with it.
But out of all those moves, what move is used more by more players more often? Is it the Euro step?
Yeah, it's probably got to be the Euro step. I think every ball handler has the Euro step, and it's become a thing where there's so many different variations of it now. And now there's the deceleration where these guys, I mean, it's really some of the balance is amazing where these guys are like balancing on one foot and just letting traffic pass by, or so it gets added on more and more and more and more every year. But yeah, the Euro step, I will go Euro step, probably the one-legger. After that, because it's not just the big men. Like, I mean, Durant has it, LeBron has it. A bunch of these, bigger wings and guards have that as well as the big man. And then, the step back three. And I would say you could argue the step back three is maybe the most abused move of those, because there are definitely people who are taking step back threes. You're like, maybe we should just move the ball there.
Have fun. We appreciate you joining us, Tim. Thank you.